Great, thanks. Welcome, everybody, to the 19th meeting, and we'll start with the pledge to the flag.
Duncan Stormer.
I pledge allegiance to the United States, to the republic for which it stands, one liberty and justice.
Hey, Mark, I'm not sure if everyone else on Zoom is experiencing this, but
Oh,
we're getting
what?
like half the conversation, so you gotta mess with that cord.
Okay. I can see. Is this, can
No,
people, it's not better?
no.
I think it's time for new equipment.
Somehow that turned my video off. How do we sound now? How do I sound now? Can you hear me?
Sounds better.
So far, so good.
Do I sound unusual? Okay, I think we have it, but please speak up immediately if it happens again, and I think I can fix it. I'll just keep unplugging and plugging things in, so.
What happened to Jonathan?
I don't know.
I'm still here.
Oh, are you?
Oh, yeah, okay,
Okay.
great, thanks, Jonathan. Let's see. I don't know why.
I feel like I can be a better.
Oh, good idea.
Visually, it's weird.
Yeah,
if they're
Yeah,
behind me.
yeah. Good idea.
Oh my, and there goes the video going crazy.
Good. Good. Don't leave it there. Mark, are you speaking? We can't hear you. You're on mute. The town hall is on mute.
I'm going absolutely nuts.
Thank you.
So,
Okay, we're ready.
okay. So I see a bunch of chats here. I'll open the meeting with opportunity for privilege of the floor. I'm assuming the chats I see are for before when I fixed things, so. And I believe Kate has appeared, so Kate is here now.
Sorry.
Okay.
Hi, everybody.
So I don't,
Are you ready to start? I didn't know if you wanted to let Kate settle in. I'll just say a few things.
I'll just hit. Oh, do you want to do privilege of the floor?
Yeah.
Oh, you do? Oh, great.
Just briefly, yeah.
Oh, great. So we do have a speaker
Yeah,
for privilege of the floor.
Is audio fine? If I'm the best far away or?
Yeah, if you want to, you could stand about right here, and I think then.
People
yeah,
there.
Oh,
perfect, and
Yeah,
then folks can see you. So, Kyle Erickson, right?
yeah. Good evening, everybody. My name is Kyle Erickson. I imagine that most of you are aware at this point that I'm running to represent our district at the county level right now. So I just wanted to be here and in person. I've met many of you in different goings on around town and things like that. I've been having a delightful time really walking around and introducing myself and meeting people and seeing old faces from years back because I grew up in the area. So happy to talk with anybody at any point if you want to sit down. I feel like that's probably a better venue than here. And happy to answer questions and hear what's on your minds as members of the community. So thank you. And thanks for having me. I'm just gonna go.
Thanks, Kyle.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kyle. Any Kyle is our entire audience here at the town hall. Is there anybody in Zoom land that wants to speak to the board? Check the,
I see no hands.
okay, thanks, Jesse. So I'll move on to the agenda and start with my report. So the first thing, well, actually, the first thing we did, local speeds on roads it bubbles up as an issue from time to time, and residents are, I think, rightly concerned about unsafe speeds on their roads. So we've heard from a resident and residents who signed a petition on Thomas Road recently. So at the last meeting, we passed a resolution for a speed limit study. We submitted that to the county highway superintendent, Jeff Smith, with a supportive letter from the sheriff, along with a required form. And he reviewed that, found that it was acceptable, and that's what his job is. And then he forwarded it to the Department of Transportation. He let me know by email because we agonized in our resolution over what speed to ask for. He basically said you can not worry about that next time because the Department of Transportation will do the study and figure out what speed is recommended. Then Jesse forwarded a letter that we received from the Department of Transportation. I believe we received that on March 12th, acknowledging receipt, and the study would be happening soon, and they would let us know the results of that study. And I did speak to Dan Klein about this a little bit. And he mentioned that Danby had recently requested a speed limit study, and they were surprised at the rapidity with which they heard back. So we do know that during the COVID period, we had one study request on Coddington Road that took, I think, a year or something like that. But I am hopeful that that we'll see the same result that Danby did. And so I think that's a good sign. So yeah, there was a suggestion from Mr. Belisle that we contact our state representatives to see if it could be expedited. But I think I feel pretty good about if it goes on, for 4 months or something, then I would be inclined to reach out to the DOT and see what's happening. This is the fair season. They should be able to do the road study fairly soon, I would think. So fingers crossed. So that was my correspondence of note. And I guess I would also comment that I have a couple times now contacted the Sheriff's Department about the concerns on Thomas Road, and he was immediately responsive and said he would as bandwidth allowed, he would have his deputies devote some attention to Thomas Road. And then we also I had met with Leanne Kanda and Fernando Darragon last week about the salamander and wildlife crossing. And so this came up, we talked about it. So I agreed to contact the sheriff, and he he was notified about, the big event on last Sunday night. It rained hard and a bunch of thunderstorms came in and the salamanders were crossing. So we alerted, Leanne said that they would have signage out on each end of Thomas Road. I let him know that, and he appreciated the heads up and alerted his deputies to that. And as an aside, I did not drive out that night in the rains, but I walked outside on my road, Yapel Road, from 9 to 10 p.m. and found 5 live salamanders, spotted salamanders, and 2 squashed ones, and a couple other 2 peepers and a green frog. So it was a good night. It was cool being out there. So I see Tim has a comment. Tim.
Yeah, Mark, I just wanted to say that this weekend I was in touch with one of the residents on Thomas Road who said that she's noted increased police presence on the road and that at one point a trooper was giving somebody a ticket. So that gave me a sense that your call was taken seriously.
Yeah.
That's great. Do you know if it was, the ticket, was it like in Caroline or in Dryden? Do you know? I was just curious because Dryden has the speed limit and we don't. I was just.
I would assume that it was in Caroline if this person could see it happening.
Okay. But that means that driver was going quite fast.
Probably, yeah.
Over 55, right?
Yep. Probably, I bet 10 to 15 miles per hour or 55 to get a ticket.
Great. So in my notes for the month, the Caroline Watershed Committee has been working for a while now on we previously established a spring roadside ditch and cleanup day, and that's still in place. We do associate it with the Highways Cleanup Week and Earth Day. But this year, we wanted to have something, an event that highlighted water concerns or the importance of water in many different ways. So I have to give credit to the energy and enthusiasm of the Watershed Committee members. So we have an event scheduled for April 5th from 2 to 4 in the afternoon. That's a Saturday at the Caroline Elementary School. And there's going to be someone from the Community Science Institute, weather permitting, will be doing stream sampling of aquatic organisms. Soil and Water will be there to demonstrate and discuss the importance of water and water impacts. The town's highway department and Tompkins County Highway Department will have representatives there to discuss or promote Adopt a Highway programs. Caroline doesn't currently have one, but Bobby has indicated an interest in developing one for the town of Caroline. Then Kristen Heichka with the Water Resources Institute will be demonstrating an app, I believe, that it's called My Coast. So I know we're not coastal, but it's about documenting flood events and using that data to inform hazard mitigation measures. So as far as I know, this is something that's sort of in the build out phase. So she's going to have a table there, and there's going to be some other Trout Unlimited is going to have someone there. And I think that there may be the history of 6 Mile Creek, maybe a presentation on that, a slide presentation. So it should be pretty cool. I have to say that it's kind of, that sounds like a lot for 2 hours to me. So I think you'll get to pick and choose. So check, I don't think we have it up yet, but we will have information on the website. And there are flyers out. So we're excited about that. Next item is that we were notified a couple months ago that we would need to adopt a new flood damage prevention local law, which we did fairly recently, but FEMA has updated its flood maps. And so we needed to revise our law. So they sent information templates with actually very helpful and clear guidelines specific to Caroline on updating ours, including the references for all of the relevant flood maps that I didn't have to go look up and put in. So that was great. And they asked that it be submitted for review before March 20th. I did that some time ago, got feedback. And my question was, and the revision they said looked good. I had shared it with Bill Podolka, and he had also noted that we do need to put in a statement about how we handle fees. But that's a one sentence modification. And then I had asked about, since the previous flood damage law was adopted, we've adopted zoning, which includes a stream corridor overlay district with restrictions. So he said you can just have them be separate, or you could refer to the zoning law provisions in this. So he suggested getting the advice of our attorney. So that's what I think I'll do. I like the idea. I do think there should be references to the stream corridor overlay district in the flood damage law. So that's ongoing, and we just have to do that. I can't remember. I think it's June 18th. We have to have this done. But we're all set. I'll share it with Guy and then get what he gives back, and then share it with you, and then we can arrange to introduce it and get it adopted. Then we had as I had reported last time that it was scheduled, we did have the Speedsville Community Thermal Network presentation on February 25th. I finally moved that recording to get Velvet to upload it today. So it's not on the website yet, but it will be soon. And tomorrow night, the Energy Independent Caroline, Mike Brown is chairing the meeting, and we're going to be discussing that, because we're at a pivot point where we need to a couple things. Perhaps provide feedback to Egg Geothermal, which is our consultant, and then decide about the next step. They're preparing a grant proposal to the National Science Foundation. So that's a big deal.
Mark, that they are preparing a grant to NSF?
I think so. That's my understanding. They're doing that. So they wanted us to, I haven't looked at the form yet, but I think they basically wanted us to sign in to be a part of this grant, but not write the grant. So does that address your question?
Well, in that case, I think we need to verify with them things such as overhead costs,
Oh, absolutely.
payment, and that sort of thing, because those grants are incredibly tricky.
Yeah, totally agree. Absolutely. Yeah,
Even in the ballpark.
right. I totally agree. Yeah. And I would invite if any board members want to join EIC meeting tomorrow, that be welcome. I think it starts at 5:30. We received 4 proposals for architectural design and construction services for restoration of this building, the Old Town Hall. They were all very, very good proposals from very, very reputable and solid architectural teams. Susan Holland, Steve Gibeon, and I met twice, reviewed them, and have made a recommendation that you'll see in the agenda. So, and then Kate and I attended the broadband finance meeting that Dave Makar and Dryden Fiber called a couple weeks ago now. That was very helpful, and the town attorneys were there. So they are looking at a key goal was to understand the financial projection for the project and the responsibilities of each town in order to put the proper language in the intermunicipal agreement that the town attorneys are now working on. So that was a helpful meeting. And that is my report. And one other thing I guess I'll mention is that last maybe summer, we have the 6 Mile Creek project on Banks Road. That's still in play, and we need to get that moving. So Tim and I had a meeting with Angel Heinickel and John Negley to discuss the project and the financing. So John had some very helpful sort of numbers and proposals. And what we're struggling with is, if you remember, there was kind of a base bid and then there were 2 alternates. And so we basically need to decide how important those alternate measures are, because make sure they're worth the cost. So Angel has reached out to Dave Herrick from TG Miller. TG Miller was the engineering firm for the restoration of Banks Road when it washed out, and that's what the project was all about originally. So I'm going to be meeting with TG Miller, those folks, tomorrow morning at Banks Road to look at it. Dave had some a suggestion on what they needed to look at in order to answer this question. So I hope at one of our April meetings to have a resolution to appoint JB's Excavation and define the cost to the town. And if anybody wants to join the meeting tomorrow, they're welcome to 8:30 at Banks Road. Okay, now I'm done with my report. Thank you. Any questions before I move on? Great. Jesse, you have a report for us?
Yeah, just a very short one. The February revenues were 1 fishing license, 13 dog renewal license, and 3 building permits. So the total local revenue was $659, which is pretty low typically for monthly revenue reports. Could just be because people are just got done paying taxes and aren't doing things quite yet, like building permits and things like that. But that being said, the total amount collected for taxes to date was 91%. So 130 payments were made online. Just shy of 400 people came in and paid in person, and the rest were done by mail. So that's my report.
Great. And that process will wrap up at the end of this month, right?
End of this month. Yep.
Yeah. Great. Any questions for Jesse? Great. Thanks, Jesse. See it. I don't have a report from either Bob Spencer or Bob Ray. So I'll move on to our county legislator, who is here. Hey, Dan.
Hey, good evening, everybody. Couple things I will mention. The first is that the county is soon going to take up the question of whether we want to remain a certified living wage employer.
Mm-hmm.
The living wage was just announced, went up from $18.45 an hour to $24.82 an hour, a 34% increase. And we've calculated that if we, the county, want to, most of our employees make above that, but there are a few that don't. And so it would take probably about $200,000 to raise up those that don't to the current living wage. However, that would probably be unfair to all the people in between. It's called wage compression. So we would likely have to raise lots of salaries. We're calculating that it's going to cost us $2.5 million next year if we want to do this. So we have to take this issue up soon because next month we begin our budget process where we set our budget goal for the year. And one of the reasons I'm mentioning this is because the town of Caroline is also a certified living wage employer. So I don't know what the implications are for you. It's for the 2026 budget. It's not something you have to decide right away, or that would affect this year's budget. I've been talking a little bit, I think I mentioned it last month, about we've been taking a look at our federal funding that comes to the county. And it took quite a while to compile all the information, but the report just came out and I spent some time looking through it. The county receives more than $25 million of federal funding. At this time, we don't believe any of it's threatened in the short term, which is good news. However, as we know from the feds, things change quickly. They can kind of change their mind on a dime. The continuing resolution that they just passed funds the government through September 30th. So, there's a decent chance that money is safe through then. But after that, we just don't know. So we're keeping an eye on that. And I mentioned this last month here, and Jonathan Bates started talking about farm funding and that agriculture funding and federal money that comes to agriculture in Tompkins County, which set me off on a little path of trying to do some work on this issue. So I haven't gotten too far yet. I am not ready to report anything, but I'm trying to gather, first I was trying to gather statistics of how much federal money flows into Tompkins County for the purposes of agriculture. And I don't know that I'm going to be able to get a comprehensive number. Nobody seems to have a single database of this. So I'm shifting my tactic to collecting stories, anecdotes to try to tell this story. So again, I'm not really ready to report anything. Jonathan supplied me with some good information, and I just want to put out the word to anyone that's listening or to the town board members. If you are a farmer or receiving agricultural payments from the federal government, or if you know of someone that is where that funding is threatened in some way, I'd really like to hear about it. And that's my report tonight.
Great. Thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
Hey, Dan, I have a comment and question about the new living wage. So I did contact Pete Myers several months ago before this happened to ask him about what was going on, and he said that it would be changing and maybe substantially. And so just as due diligence, because we are a living wage employer, I went ahead and got certified based on the previous living wage, which was active at that time, $18.66 an hour or whatever. And then so I did share with the board when the living wage was upped so substantially. And my question is, so that is, that's, when somebody asked me about this actually in a kind of an interview, and I said, well, it's for the town, I get it, prices have gone up, but we're super sensitive. This is going to come not from our profit margin, but from our residents. So it's it's a little tricky, and it is kind of, I found it, I mean, I guess it put me, it put me on my back foot that it was such a big jump all at once. And I know from looking at it before that, so this living wage designation came from an MIT study. The MIT analysis has been out before, and it's always much higher than the one that was established by alternatives. And I wondered, certainly a large part of it has to be the inflation spike, but is part of this because they used this MIT study instead of however they did it before. And if that's true, is why was it done that way? So do you know anything about that?
That is my understanding too, that in addition to the inflation, which we know about, they did change their methodology, and that's a reason why it went up so much.
Yeah.
Why they did that, I mean, I could speculate. I think some living wage advocates have an agenda. They want the number to be as high as possible, and so if that's your agenda, then you'll want to pick the method that generates a higher number. I'll mention one other little statistic that I looked into. The living wage went up $2 an hour 2 years ago, which was also a big jump. And before that happened, there were 127 certified living wage employers in Tompkins County. After that happened, as of today, there's only 68, lost almost half the number of certified employers from that smaller jump. So I can imagine this bigger jump is going to also cut way into that number.
I think so too. And the first thing I thought about was the compression thing you mentioned. It's not just going to be, we have just a few people at $18.66 an hour. But you have to adjust everything. So it's a big deal.
Yeah, for the county, our lowest wage is something like 22 an hour or greater than 22 an hour. So we're paying well, we're close to that living wage, but just to bump those people up $2-ish an hour, like you're saying, then everybody else has to go up. And the price tag is estimated to be $2.5 million, which is a big number.
Yes, sir. Wow. Interesting. Well, thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Dan? Let's hope the federal funding stays firm. Yeah. Great. Okay. Thanks so much, Dan.
Thank you.
Let's see. So with that, I will move on to the. I guess I would like to. I invited Leanne Kanda to join us tonight. And I think she did. And I think she's still here. Yeah, she is. So, hi, Leanne.
Hello.
I know we have a couple of important items on the plate, but if we could do the resolution for contracting with Redfish Engineering for the engineering study first, would that be okay with folks? We move that up to the top. Okay, great. So I will offer a resolution, if I can find it, to contract with Redfish Engineering PLLC for preliminary design and cost proposal for wildlife culverts on Thomas Road. Whereas the Caroline Town Board has authorized development of a grant proposal for wildlife crossings on Thomas Road to enhance road safety. And whereas Dr. Leanne Kanda with our local amphibian working group has engaged with an engineering firm, Redfish Engineering PLLC, with experience in designing road wildlife crossings, and obtained a quote for developing a design and cost proposal for $10,000. And whereas the Ithaca Tompkins Transportation Council has dedicated funds to cover this cost. And whereas as Thomas Road is a town road, the town of Caroline is serving as the lead administrative agency for this project. Therefore, be it resolved, the Caroline Town Board hereby authorizes a contract with Redfish Engineering for design and cost estimating proposal for wildlife crossings on Thomas Road, with the cost to be covered by funds from the Ithaca Tompkins Transportation Council. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
seconded by Michelle. And I guess first, Leanne, do you want to add any information or comments at this point, or just take questions?
I think that the most sensible thing is just to take questions. I'm
Okay.
happy to answer anything if anybody has questions.
Wonderful, thank you. So, does anybody have questions?
Yeah,
about
I
this?
was at the meeting to discuss this, so.
Yeah.
I'm sad.
You're okay, yeah. So, yeah. So this, what would be the next step, Leanne, after this study is done?
So this study, the point of it is first to get an engineer actually getting their eyes on the situation and telling us what will work and what will not. And for what will work, what would be an estimation of the materials cost, the labor cost, actually getting us some concretes, and then we can use those to inform trying to solicit grant funding to make it happen.
Great. Great, that makes sense.
Sounds good.
Sounds good. I don't think there are a lot of questions, Leanne. I think, I don't want to anticipate the vote, but I think we're ready to vote on it, so. But thank you for joining us tonight, and before you cut out, I guess, you probably heard my little tiny report from Maple Road. Do you have a report from Thomas Road from the Sunday?
It indeed, Sunday was what we call a big night. Major movement of the amphibians. We had a massive turnout, not just on Thomas Road, but actually across the county. Preliminary reports for the county patrol is that we helped something like 2,500 animals cross the road Sunday evening across the county. My estimate, talking with the different groups on Thomas Road, just within the target zone, that small stretch that we're hoping to add underpass, in a 2-hour stretch, we helped something like 100 spotted salamanders, probably 250 spring peepers, large number of wood frogs, green frogs, couple of toads. We did note eastern spotted newts. They move during the daytime before volunteers come out. So I went out and did a survey of about half of our target zone before dark. 40 dead newts
Oh my
just in
goodness.
that little stretch.
Wow.
During the time that I was counting those dead newts, I did help 2 live ones cross the road. So we've definitely got documentation. Also, at the same time that we helped 100 spotted salamanders across in that little area, again, sort of the par for the course, we saw about 10% that got hit by cars while we were out there.
Okay.
But we had a huge turnout of volunteers. The Girl Scout troop, was it 4,010? I think is their number. The Girl Scout troop was there. They were looking at one stretch. We had a section that was cordoned off specifically for the research project out of Cornell. And then I was monitoring the next stretch that's part of our target zone. And yeah, we had a bunch of IC and Cornell additional folks looking at other stretches along Thomas Road. So fantastic volunteer turnout, an amazing concentration of animals, a lot of good data. The last sort of fun point on the data that I just processed. I did put my research equipment out again this year for animals that I microchipped a number of years ago just to see are any of them still out there. And Sunday at 11 p.m.,
Wow.
animal number 64, a female that I originally tagged in 2014.
Wow.
First pinged on the west side of the road uphill, and also pinged on the east side.
Huh.
And so I can say that it took her 10 minutes to cross the road.
Wow.
So we're getting information slowly but surely.
That's really cool. I wonder if that means that there's selection for salamanders that can run across the road really fast.
It is possible. There might also be selection for animals who wait until later in the night, right?
Yeah.
When there's less traffic.
Yeah.
But
really-
yeah, so we've got some information, and unfortunately, part of that information is that yeah, we are definitely still seeing mortalities, even with a huge volunteer turnout.
Yeah. Well, that's a really cool report. And so this wildlife crossing obviously would help the red-spotted newts as well, right?
It would.
Yeah.
Yes,
So
it would help animals 24/7, whether they're moving as part of a mass migration or not,
Mhm.
uh,
Great.
and not just amphibians, right? And
Right.
any small thing that's willing to trot through.
Yeah.
So how tall is it? Like, could
The
possum fit through there, or? is it more
the
like-
proposed tunnel,
Yeah, the proposed tunnel.
ideally, it would actually be a full meter tall.
Okay,
So you know, close
I was thinking, so it could be
like 3 foot tall.
fair, go through there, just saying.
Yes, the crossings that we're modeling off of up in Moncton, Vermont, uh, they have documented larger wildlife, bobcat, and young black bear moving through their underpasses. I'm not sure we have the configuration at the road to be able to do quite that deep. Just because of where the water table is compared to where Thomas Road is at that point, which is exactly why we need the engineer, right? We
Right.
need the engineer to come out and say, here's what would be feasible.
Yeah.
And, you know, this is, we identified somebody who is familiar with working with wildlife culverts. His expertise is doing stream culverts to facilitate aquatic movement. But his team has also previously done like turtle crossings and things like that. So, and this person has worked locally. I was put in touch with this engineer by the folks at U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service in Cortland.
Okay.
So yeah, we feel really good about this, and it's a step that other projects, you know, we've been talking with other folks who have completed or further along in building their own underpasses, and they said having this kind of preliminary feasibility analysis done made future steps much more concrete and easier to do.
Yeah. Makes
So
sense.
we're delighted that ITCTC can fully fund, so we're not asking the town of Caroline for anything except your willingness to negotiate it happening.
That sounds great. And I did want to express my appreciation to the county, to the ITCC, so. That's great. All right, well, thank you so much for joining us, Leanne. Really great report. Okay, well, with that, I will call for a vote. This motion is on the table. So all in favor, say aye, or raise your hand. Aye. Opposed? That is unanimous. Thank you.
Is Jonathan up there?
Are you there, Jonathan?
I have 2 eyes.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah. Are you able to activate your video? I think the technicality is that for voting, you should activate your video. There you go. Thank you. All right, so now I will skip back to the top of the agenda and offer resolution to adopt a local law to opt in on allowing cannabis dispensaries and lounges. Do I have a second on that? I guess, do you want me to read the language of the?
I'll second it.
Tim seconded it, so again, just to reiterate our situation, we did in December of 21 at the last moment decide to opt out of allowing these until dispensaries and places of consumption or lounges until the state had completed formation of its control board and the regulations for cannabis. And so now we are considering opting in, and as we discussed last time, the town zoning law does have both of these uses on the use table for designated districts. Great, so open it for discussion.
I mean, I mean, we've discussed this quite a bit already, so I'll just repeat my support for the resolution. I think that the communication that I had with participants in the state cannabis board convinced me that the state had conducted very, very thorough public health reviews. And in their review, they determined that the health advantages could outweigh the disadvantages. I realized that there are public concerns about the strength of cannabis. I continue to believe that we're probably better off with controlled cannabis than with street cannabis because cannabis is legal. So I'll support the resolution.
Great. Thanks, Tim.
I have some things to say.
Okay, Jonathan.
Yeah, I'm gonna vote to stay opted out. A number of reasons. One is once you opt in, you can't opt back out. So we're removing a Democratic option for future. Another is the federal government still is listing it as a class 1 drug. I don't trust the federal government right now. I think it brings a risk to the state of New York and to our local government if we opt in, because at this point, most likely the federal government's not going to make it legal, so it's going to stay as a class 1 illegal drug. Also, I think the health implications for our town are too large. I think by keeping ourselves opted out, it gives us an opportunity to educate the public about why we're opting out. Whereas if we opt in, I don't see any benefits. Anyone can buy anything, whether it's legal or not, in or around our town. And I really just don't think it provides any benefits. So I feel like we're missing opportunity to have a stance on the health for the town, and we're giving it up by opting in.
Okay, thank you, Jonathan. Yep.
I guess the only thing else, I think I pretty much said what I had to say last time, but I've been talking to a lot of people about this.
Good.
And almost, I have not met anybody that doesn't think we should. That think, they agree that we should opt in, that they think that the strength of the modern, it's just not, that's not a reason to keep opting out. And that it actually is a benefit for some people. I actually had one person say that it would be great to have people that need it, be able to access it easily. So I would be voting for opting in. The thing I'm confused about is from the research I did, it sounds like New York State does control the strength of it.
That's right.
So I don't understand about the argument about it being too strong.
I think the argument about it being too strong is that it's stronger than it has been.
But from what I read, the restrictions are basically equivalent to what it used to be,
Right.
keeping it that level. So I feel like there are measures in place to keep it safe if people do it legally. Of course, whatever you buy on the street, like, who knows? But so.
Maybe I've misread between the lines, but kind of what I've taken from those discussions is that regardless of whether, that is generally not, regardless of strength, is generally not a positive thing. So, but it's obviously, it's variable for different people, like you said, so. But yeah.
So I've gone back and forth on this. And, one thing, talking to people, I realized that there is, they're kind of dispensaries under the radar already. They're just not legal, and lounges, where, people just hang out and smoke pot. I have a hard time, as I said last time, with just kind of our whole culture embracing this as normal. I do worry a lot about youth, and honestly, kind of quieting the ambition of lots of people and various effects. However, that said, I also know that if there's marijuana out there that's already been sold and consumed, I would rather see it regulated than have it, outside the law. I'm hopeful that might bring it away from, trying other drugs that are outside the law, that might be more dangerous. I also know a young woman who was 17 when she was smoking a joint, and it was contaminated with another drug, and she died. And so, I mean, the dispensaries and the lounges can't sell to people who are 17, right? But I just would like more oversight if this is going to be in our culture. I think we need more oversight than there is. I don't know if Caroline really needs to opt in for there to be more of that oversight, and I still have concerns about people driving when they're stoned. I mean, that I just don't think things are all the way evened out. But having said that, I will vote to opt in. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I have also, I mean, it's been an interesting discussion, and I think there's, so when I separate it to why we opted out in the first place, it's pretty simple, that we opted out in order to get the regulations in place. Now they're in place, and so, and then, so I think the conversation about whether we allow it or not evolves towards, what we did with our zoning. It's like determining, so, and and to that point, so the zoning commission did consider it and did designate some districts for it, or to not for it, but to allow it. Yeah, and to Jonathan's point about in reading the flyer, I think I was rereading the one that we had originally that the state provided. So local regulations can be more restrictive than the state regulations. So I would think that if we decided at some point, should we opt in, that we, changed our mind, I would think that we could impose whatever restrictions we felt were warranted.
So it would not be opting out, but we could put in restrictions on.
Well, I would,
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I would have to talk to our planner or attorney, but I mean, you could remove it from the use table, right? I would think.
I don't understand why we can't.
We could remove it from zoning.
What's that?
We could change the zoning.
Yes.
Yeah, take it out.
Yeah.
Right, I mean, I guess I don't understand why we can't become more restrictive later if we felt the need.
Right, that's what I'm.
Jonathan, you were telling me that you had read that we can't opt out again, right? It's not like we can change our mind. Once we're in, we're in.
I read that today. The state doesn't allow you once you're in, you're in. You can't opt out again. This is a one-time state offer.
Right, and that is correct.
But we could still restrict things, you're saying.
We could restrict it with our zoning, I do believe. But as far as this, that was why we opted out in December of 21, because in January of 21, we weren't going to be able to do it. That was the last time you could do it. And yes, once you opted back in, you couldn't undo that. So I think it gave municipalities the option of saying, hey, we want to wait until you have things in place.
And I know this doesn't mean much, but just another data point I was curious about today is about half of the village, towns, and cities in New York have opted in for both laws, the dispensaries and the on-site use. In my opinion, it's interesting that it wasn't more than half, but I was just curious.
Jonathan, does that mean that half of the, did you say towns and villages?
And cities.
Or in cities, they originally opted out and opted back in, or just that they
they're listed on the state website as being opted in. That's all it means.
Okay.
It means if you're not on the list, you just haven't decided or whatever, but they're not.
Yeah.
Because I think they have to be listed to get the tax benefit.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Interesting. Great. All right. Any other questions or deliberations before I call for a vote? All right, so and I did get a second on you seconded it, right, Michelle?
I thought Tim seconded it.
Tim did? Okay, great. Did get a second. So with that, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed?
Nay.
Yeah, great. Great, thank you, everybody. That was not an easy decision, so great. All right. I will offer a resolution to authorize me to sign the engagement agreement with Oric Public Finance for bond counsel services. This is the bond counsel partner to Municipal Solutions that we engaged with last year. And I had actually assumed that that engagement included both of them, but then this appeared, I had missed it, so. Anyway, I'm overdue to get back to them, and
I'll second it.
great, seconded by Kate. Any questions or concerns? If not, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Great. Okay, that's unanimous, thanks. And we've handled resolution 3 already. Michelle, do you want to offer the next resolution?
It's a resolution to adopt an emergency response plan for the town of Caroline, for the old town hall and for the town hall annex, town office annex. And this would be mainly to, have a clear plan for saving, restoring town records, both historic records and current records. And it's basically a list of, like, who you call in what order if there's something like a leak or whenever, since the town hall will be renovated, often that's a time when buildings are most at risk when they're undergoing renovations. So anyway,
Great.
So I'm offering this resolution to adopt the Town of Caroline Emergency Response Plan for the old town hall and the town hall and the town office annex.
Great. I'll second that.
Okay.
That's great. Thanks for all your work on that. So, Tim?
Michelle, I just wanted to thank you. I mean, this is incredibly thorough and very, very detailed. And I think we all know that you put an awful lot of work into researching this.
Yeah,
So
thank you.
just thanks very much. One other thing that I just wanted to mention is, in addition to this, I mean, I do think that sooner than later, we should just codify a town-wide emergency response ladder or something like that. And this came up this weekend when we had the big storm on Sunday, and it's really funny because I texted Mark to ask him if he was out of power, maybe late Sunday night. And he said, "No, are you?" And then I just realized that we could have an event, and that ended up being a fairly significant event, not as bad as the one this summer, but the power still did go out for a lot of us for over 12 hours. We could have an event like that where half of us weren't aware of it, right? And also it would just be good for us to have a chain where maybe the highway supervisor would check in with us, or we could check in with them, et cetera, et cetera. So that's just something that I'd like us to do on top of this. It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
Well,
Michelle, you want to offer?
well,
Yeah.
so the county is working on a template for towns to use for that. And I went to the first meeting, and the next meeting is next week. I'm not sure I can go to the whole thing, but
Okay. Well,
okay.
let me know when it is.
So that's in the works. And it's actually great because the county's, working with a company that's gonna do it. It's gonna be a uniform template, and they're actually gonna work with the towns to do their own. So,
I mean, our town's so small, it shouldn't be hard for us to do that at all.
no, it's just really a matter of just writing things down. But, and this is supposed to be completed by August 31st or something. So within the next few months, we should see some real movement on this.
The counties is going to be complete,
Yeah.
or
Yeah,
then they'll go to the towns.
right.
Okay.
I think whatever the contractor, ends by August
I got
31st, so they want everything done. So it's in progress, so that would be the next step for sure.
This was all extremely timely. I sent an email to Jessica Verifus and copied Jonathan and Michelle. And asking her I heard that you're working on this, and she immediately replied and said, yes, and the meeting is tomorrow. And our next step is to work with the towns to complete theirs. So Michelle attended that meeting, so that was really great.
And they were supposed to make the presentation they gave available. You know, I haven't gotten it yet, so I don't know when they're gonna do that, but
Okay,
the meeting I attended was what's the word, you know, taped and
so
everything.
recorded, yeah.
Recorded, yeah, so that it's available for people. They just haven't sent that out yet, so I don't know what their timeline is for that.
The one thing that I thought about for our plan, and so it has people's names in there, like mine. And so, it's gonna, and also, you know, so we'll be adding like contract numbers for ServPro and this Polygon, right?
Yeah, so Polygon, we could make an arrangement with them, and I've filled out the forms, I just haven't sent them in.
Okay,
ServPro never got back to me. I mean, I kept them on the list, but they never,
oh, okay, so
I
that's gonna be
contacted them.
removed, that part,
or we can, they're
are
a
they,
resource.
are they comparable to Polygon or
Yeah,
are they
but,
different?
and they're kind of local, but they just didn't get back to me, but Polygon also sends. So I don't think it's bad to have them as a resource, like,
Okay,
the town historian from Danby, I think, contacted me personally because she had moldy documents and she didn't know what to do with them. And so I gave her ServPro's number just because Greg Harrington's used ServPro for over at Fountainhead to do some stuff.
Fountain Manor, yeah.
Yeah, Fountain Manor. So I think it's okay to have other
okay,
resources on there.
okay.
I think Polygon's ahead of ServPro, so we would.
I was just thinking that, you know, we've adopted the plan, but we do need to be malleable and modify it as things change over time with election cycles and all that.
Yeah, so you'd have to keep, we should keep an eye on checking it like every year or every other year.
Yeah.
I mean, the other thing the only concern that I have is, for example, I don't give out my cell phone number to people.
Yeah,
So I would prefer for this to be an in-house document if possible.
yeah,
Right.
no, for sure. I mean, I think it should just be printed and people should have printed copies. I don't think we should put it on the website.
Right.
Or anything, so.
Yeah.
No, that's always an issue.
Great. Other thoughts or questions for Michelle? Great to have it completed. So with that, I will call for a vote. All in favor of adopting the emergency preparedness and response plan, or whatever it's called, so.
What is it called? Emergency response plan.
Say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
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 Thanks, Michelle.
Thanks.
All right, next up, I will offer a resolution to recommend an award for the Old Town Hall Restoration Project. Whereas the request for proposals for the Old Town Hall Restoration Project was posted on the town website on February 3rd. Legal notice was published on February 12th, and 4 proposals were received and opened on the due date of 2 p.m. Thursday, March 6th. And whereas the review committee of Susan Holland of Historic Ithaca, Steve Givian, who is our architectural project consultant, and myself reviewed the proposals. And that committee hereby offers the following recommendations. All 4 proposals were judged to be complete and from firms with qualifications and experience needed for this project. The 4 proposers were, in alphabetical order, Barrow Architecture, Clinton Brown Company Architecture, Landmark Consulting, and Thaler, Riley, and Wilson Architecture and Preservation. And the fee proposals are listed there. And so based on the totals for those fee proposals, the total for Barrow Architecture, which is the recommendation, was $65,735. Resolved based on overall assessment of proposal and fee basis, we recommend Barrow Architecture for award of the contract for the Old Town Hall restoration project. Do I have a second?
Second.
I think Michelle actually got it.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yeah,
I didn't get a chance to look at it. Thank you for doing all that work with this. In any of the quotes, this one in particular, as we're going to probably vote on it, what was the assessment, or what are the what's the direction they're taking for improving the durability of the basement?
that is still to be determined. That's one of the work items. I don't have it in front of me, is to
Okay.
look at drainage and address the moisture issue. So it was in the RFP, all the work scope items are defined. So that's gonna be like, once we get a contract in place, that's gonna be like, the first thing to be done is to work with the architect to define solutions for each of the aspects of the project.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. Tim?
Mark, I can just add that I went through them independently of your review, and I came up with the same conclusion. So I was going to come to the meeting prepared to recommend that company, which I thought provided a really thorough proposal. I was also impressed that they had done a number of somewhat comparable regional projects, and we're very familiar with the area, a couple of which I know, and I thought they did a really good job. So I was happy to hear that recommendation.
Great.
Good.
Great. I'm really excited to have this moving along, so. All right, well, if there are no further questions, I will call for a vote. So all in favor, say aye, raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye, great, and that's unanimous, thank you.
And hey, can I just mention, for Jonathan's sake, since just to make sure that you're aware of this, Jonathan, that in addition to a grant through Historic Ithaca to help us with this restoration, we've been putting aside money in a separate account for 6 years, 5, 6, 7 years, so that we have money put aside already to cover this kind of a fee. So it won't be coming out of something out of nowhere, but we've planned for this. I think you might know that, but I just thought I'd.
Yeah,
I did not know that. Thank you.
yeah, that's the town hall reserve account. Tim, is that reserve? Yeah, that was actually, put in place under Don's stewardship, so. Okay, super. Thank you all. Just checking my agenda here. I see that I need to, where did it go? Oh my goodness. There it is, okay. So on my agenda list on the front page, I forgot to add in the transfer or the budget adjustments. So I want to offer a resolution for the following 2024 budget adjustments as Velvet and I work to close the books. So and those are for $4,261. This was use of fund balance to for the workers' comp for the firefighter fund. So increase SF1 9040.8 by that amount. And then also increase the revenue fund that would receive those fund balance funds. So I wasn't able to figure out what that accounting code number is today. So I just put revenue code for the use of fund balance. So I'll figure that out with Velvet tomorrow. So that's the first one. Then the next one is one we did. This was use of fund balance for broadband payments in December, 137,260.76. Increase A8989.42. That's the expenditure account for broadband, and then increased by the same amount the A account for use of fund balance. And that will come from that source. And then the final one, there are three of them, $24,094.60. This is to use highway equipment reserve funds for machinery. So that was increased DA 5130.2 machinery equipment, and increased DA the revenue code for the use of reserves of highway reserve fund. So do I have a second?
Seconded.
Seconded by Kate. Any further questions? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, say aye. Raise your hand.
Aye.
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 Great, thank you. And then I'll offer a resolution to pay the bills in the following amounts for these funds. A fund, $32,833.89. DA fund, $79,031.30, and SL fund, $2,900.75.
Second.
Seconded by Tim. Any discussion? I will just make a note that I did note in the bills for Verizon, which is for the cell phones. We have retired the cell phone account for the code office because Bob uses his own, so that that needs to be retired. So I need to remind Bob has the access for that account. So we need to ping him to remind him that needs to be shut down. Yeah, I think that's all. Any other thoughts? Any other questions about the bills from Kate or Tim?
Nope.
Okay, with that, all in favor, say aye.
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 Unanimous. I will, Jesse sent us the minutes for the last meeting, March 5th. Any feedback or comments?
Thank you, Jesse.
Yep.
Thank you.
The minutes of March 5th are hereby approved. Okay. I think we've gotten through our agenda. Does anybody have any thoughts for our next meeting? It's the agenda meeting, so we don't normally load it up now, but if you have any thoughts or anything, I think the one thing that I have been thinking about is inviting folks from the youth, either the rec partnership or the joint youth commission to speak to us. We haven't talked to them in a while. It'd be nice to, he offered, and he said, I think he said after March, so maybe do that. Tim?
Yeah, I was going to just mention to everybody, you just might be interested to know that the Zoning Board of Appeals is going to have its first case. And that'll be happening the second week of April, but things are moving along. So we'll get that set up. Mark has been doing a good job at helping to work with Bob to get that done.
Great. Yeah, April 9th. That's going to be their very first variance to look at.
Yeah, it would be nice to have someone that has some understanding of the tax law in regards to the cannabis taxes. I have a general sense of what how that's works, but it would be nice to start to think about that. And since at some point the county will add us to the state list, and then it will get triggered for getting the allotment, because I think the way it works is that they combined all the, well, assuming a business opens up and they start collecting taxes, they would add up all the dispensaries in Tompkins County, and then they'd distribute that out. I know there's a number like 3%, but I don't know if every town gets an equal amount, or if it's in relationship to population, or what it is. And then I think a second piece to that, probably not at that meeting, but a future meeting, to talk about how those taxes would be used.
Okay.
I wonder if Dan would have the answer to half of that off the top of his head. If he's still with us.
We could ask him. There he is.
I am still with you. I do not have the answer to that off the top of my head.
I thought you knew everything.
I know where to find the answers. How's that for an answer?
Yeah.
That's a great answer. Yeah, this is definitely a learning curve for me. I don't know anything about it. So it'll probably be, I could imagine it being a topic with my supervisor's meeting or at TCOG or whatever. So, but interested in whatever you can find out for us, Dan. That'd be great.
Okay. Hey, Jonathan, if you would be willing to write down what your actual questions are. I wasn't 100% sure what you were asking. If you send that to me, I can work on getting it.
I can do that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Great. Thank you. Thanks very much. Anything else? No? I will offer a motion to adjourn.
I will second that.
Second by Kate. All in favor? Stand on your head. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Great. All right. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, everybody, for joining us, and have a great evening.
Thanks.
Good night.